the Chi-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears have not been shy at spending big in free agency to upgrade both their offensive line and defensive line, but he can also be poised to make a couple of other moves that can help the Chicago Bears in the long run. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So, Bears fans, on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I don't want to go into too much details on the moves that Ryan Poles has already made because we know that they have been busy in free agency upgrading both the offensive line and defensive line. But there's a couple of other moves I feel like the Bears are poised to make, hopefully in the near future, that I feel like that can really help the organization in the long run. And this has been the talk of the organization among Bears fans, among analysts all around the National Football League, and that is giving cornerback Kyler Gordon a contract extension. We actually got to hear from Kyler Gordon just the other day as he was the award recipient of the Ed Block Courage Award for the Chicago Bears. And he talked about how much he loves the city of the Chicago, the organization, how he wants to be a Chicago Bear for a long time. And he also talked about the intrigue of playing under new Bears defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. He feels that Dennis Allen can really take his game to the next level. And those are the type of conversations that we were having when we did hire Dennis Allen. And Dennis Allen actually made it very clear to point out Kyler Gordon right away and his ability of the many different things that he can do. When you look at Kyler Gordon, he's only 25 years old, and ever since being drafted by the Chicago Bears a couple of years ago, he has really established himself as one of the best nickel corners in the National Football League. He can do everything. He can tackle, he can blitz, he can cover. He's a good leader. He's a good teammate. He is the full package. He was definitely one of Ryan Poles' big hits in the NFL draft many years ago. And he has been now a core piece to the Chicago Bears defense. And once again, I have huge expectations for Kyler Gordon as he goes into this season, now under new Bears defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. I know that you guys all feel the same way. And I know a lot of people will probably ask, well, Keek, what will Kyler Gordon's contract extension actually look at? And we actually have a measuring stick for that. Jordan Lewis, originally of the Dallas Cowboys, signed with Jacksonville this year. He's 29 years old, and he signed a 3-year, $30 million contract extension with $20 million guaranteed, which made him the highest paid nickel corner in the National Football League. Once again, Jordan Lewis is really a really good player in his own right, but I feel that Kyler Gordon can get even more than this. So that's what, $10 million per year. So we can probably be looking at somewhere in the $12 to maybe $14 million per year range for Kyler Gordon. And I feel like he is well worth it. Once again, I know Ryan Poles really wants to make this his next priority. I know that Kyler Gordon has mutual feelings of coming back to Chicago as well. Money may be a little bit tight, but once again, Ryan Poles and the Bears have done a very good job with every single move and signing they've made this offseason to really backload their contract. So there's not going to be a major cap hit on them this year. All that money is going to be pushed to the 2026 cap hit for the Chicago Bears. So he probably does have a way to maybe restructure some contracts to make sure Kyler Gordon gets paid. Once again, Ryan Poles made a huge emphasis to make sure he keeps players that actually deserve contracts. He did it with DJ Moore. He did it with Jalen Johnson. He did it with Cole Kmet. So I don't imagine that Kyler Gordon will be any different. He knows the significance of Kyler Gordon in this defense. And once again, we can all agree that we expect Kyler Gordon to have a really big year this season under new Bears defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. So Bears fans, let me know down below in the comment section if you want Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears to extend cornerback Kyler Gordon. I definitely do. So now moving on to another move that I think the Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles will definitely make in the next couple of weeks as we reach the new season, and that is extending new Bears guard Joe Toney. Once again, he's on the last year of his deal, which I believe it's paying him $15.5 million for this one season, but then he will be a free agent next year. Once again, the Chicago Bears give up some draft capital to bring the All-Pro and future Hall of Famer to the Chicago Bears to bolster this offensive line. And I know Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears don't want Joe Toney on basically a one-year rental. He is going to be a big vocal point to help protect Caleb Williams for at least a couple of years. And once again, you go in the NFL draft and maybe find his replacement when he does finally hang up the cleats. But for right now, he still has a lot of football left in the tank. He's going to help the Chicago Bears offense and Caleb Williams in a big way for the next couple of years. So I could definitely see the Chicago Bears extending him for probably another 2 to 3 seasons to keep him a Chicago Bear for the long haul. And once again, a Joe Toney extension can probably actually save the Chicago Bears some cap space as well. So it would be a smart move for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears to save some cap space, and obviously keeping a future Hall of Famer like Joe Toney to really help protect Caleb Williams here in Chicago. The last move that I expect the Chicago Bears to make is still adding some offensive line depth. They can do that in via free agency, maybe with some small contracts, and obviously they can also look in the NFL draft, maybe in round 1. We have 2 second-round picks, and of course a third-round pick as well. So a lot of draft capital, and that's why I expect them to really attack maybe bringing in some young guys that kind of fit on what they want in their offensive line. Obviously, Ben Johnson has made it very clear that he wants gritty, nasty, dirty guys in his trenches, and I definitely love that philosophy and that thinking. But when you look at the money aspect and trying to add free agents, I think once again the focus is going to be on the Kyler Gordon extension and the Joe Toney extension. But I think when you want to add depth, I think that's when you can add it in the NFL draft. Bears fans, there's a couple of names that really come to mind. Go ahead and drop some names that you would like the Chicago Bears see add in terms of offensive line depth. If we're looking at the NFL draft, Armand Membu, maybe Will Campbell, Kevin Banks, depending on if you're going round 1 tackle. There's some other guys in round 2 they can look at, maybe adding some interior depth or a tackle depth as well. You can also look in free agency, but I don't think they are going to go that route when they're looking at depth, unless it's a really cheap and team-friendly deal for the Chicago Bears. But Bears fans, before I let you guys go on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I kind of wanted to give you guys my NFL draft top 5 rankings. And once again, this is just my personal opinion. You guys can give me your top 5 as well down below in the comment section. But I'm going to give you guys my top 5. Starting from number 5, I have offensive lineman Armand Membu. I feel like if the Chicago Bears are going to invest in offensive lineman, I feel like he would be the perfect fit for the Chicago Bears, especially maybe in a trade down scenario. You will be able to get some extra draft capital for this year's draft, maybe even in next year's draft, and still land a very good player to really complete your overhaul of the offensive line here in Chicago. My number 4 player in my rankings is edge rusher Mike Green. He is truly my favorite edge rusher in this year's NFL draft. I understand that you signed Dio. I understand that you got Grady Jarrett. I understand that you have Montez Sweat. I understand you even have Austin Booker, right? I think the Chicago Bears are going to be in the market to at least add 1 more or maybe even 2 more edge rushers. Ryan Poles made it very clear that you can never have enough good edge rushers, and he used, the Philadelphia Eagles dominating the Super Bowl as an example to protect his claim on why he feels the Chicago Bears need to attack heavy and upgrade the edge rushing room here in Chicago. And Mike Green paired with Dio and Montez Sweat and Austin Booker would be a beautiful sight to see. Once again, you could possibly get Mike Green maybe in a little bit of a drop back, not too far back. But you can also pick him at 10 if you really wanted an edge rusher. I know James Pierce is out there as well, but to me, Mike Green is just my favorite edge rushing prospect in the 2025 NFL draft. My number 3 prospect is running back Amarion Hampton, right? Really love this guy out of North Carolina. He's 6'1", so he's a big back. He's also fast, has some pretty good vision as well. He would be a perfect complement behind this upgraded offensive line with Caleb Williams, and DeAndre Swift, and he does everything you need him to do, right? He can block, he can run, he has decent vision, he can be a receiving threat as well. So I can definitely see the Chicago Bears, if they miss out on some other opportunities in round one, maybe trading back and still landing a day one impact player in Amarion Hampton. My number 2 prospect in this year's 2025 NFL draft, that's, really growing on me, is tight end Tyler Warren. I know a lot of people are like, well, Keek, why do we really want a tight end? We already have Cole Kmet. Once again, Ben Johnson loves his 12 personnel sets, his 2 tight ends, and adding a guy like Tyler Warren would get really fun here in Chicago. You would have a really physical, athletic, gifted unit on the football field. Tyler Warren can do everything you want him to do. He's a good blocker. He's a good receiving threat. Pretty good yard after the catch ability as well. He is, to me, a perfect Ben Johnson prospect, and I think he would make the Chicago Bears a whole lot better. And the only reason why we can really even consider a guy like Tyler Warren out of Penn State is because of the work that Ryan Poles and the Bears have done in free agency with bolstering both the offense and defensive lines. If Ryan Poles wasn't able to accomplish this during free agency, Tyler Warren wouldn't even be an option. The only thing about Tyler Warren is that if he is there at 10, you're going to have to pick him at 10. You're not going to be able to trade back and still land a guy like Tyler Warren. There's even people saying that he's going to make it within the top 10, right? So he may not even be there at number 10 when the Chicago Bears pick, but if he is happen to be there with the Chicago Bears pick in round 1, he could be an option depending on who else is on the board. But I definitely like what I see from Tyler Warren. Once again, if you have not watched his highlights, I would recommend going on YouTube right now and checking out Tyler Warren's highlights. And then let me know if you would be interested in making him a Chicago Bear. My number 1 prospect in this year's NFL draft, just in terms of the Chicago Bears, is running back Ashton Jeanty. And I know I may get a lot of hate for this, but to me, I really like what I see from Ashton Jeanty. I would love Caleb Williams, Ashton Jeanty with this new improved offensive line, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet, even adding in DeAndre Swift. It would be a beautiful sight to see. And once again, same thing with Tyler Warren. Ashton Jeanty is only a possibility because of what Ryan Poles was able to accomplish in free agency behind this upgraded offensive line that I expect will be an upgrade, right, on paper right now, in terms of not only pass protection, but also being able to run the football. So now that we have that power up front to really run the football, Ben Johnson's going to crave adding another really, really good running back to pair with DeAndre Swift, and Ashton Jeanty could be just that. Amazing vision, good contact balance. He has that decent home run speed as well. I think this can be a special fit here in Chicago. You see Caleb Williams liking, Ashton Jeanty's post all the time. It seems like a match made in heaven. We just have to see what the Chicago Bears really, really want. I find it hard to believe that if Ashton Jeanty is there at number 10, that the Chicago Bears don't take him. I think Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles are going to fall in love with Jeanty during this draft process. But at the same time, I could be wrong. I'm definitely okay with them still adding to the trenches in round 1, but I just feel like if Ashton Jeanty is there, and I know there's some other teams that could possibly take Jeanty, like the Las Vegas Raiders, but if he does slip to 10, just like Tyler Warren, I think the Chicago Bears are going to have a tough time not taking Ashton Jeanty and making him a Chicago Bear. So Bears fans, overall, how do you feel about my top 5 list on today's episode of Keek on the Mic? And go ahead and give me your top 5 in terms of Chicago Bears draft options in this year's NFL draft. I would love to hear from you guys. But as always, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you guys follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for all new Bears podcasts right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic.